We just received The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is a direct sequel to 2017's Breath of the Wild, one of the most inventive and reimaginings of the Zelda formula we've ever gotten, and one of the biggest games for Nintendo ever. Yes, with Tears of the Kingdom, it continued to improve on that formula, giving us an entirely new map down below, islands in the sky, and brand new mechanics allowing us to build anything that we wanted. Now, with all of that in mind, something that I kept thinking about is the future of Zelda, and of course, where Zelda is going to go next. I hear a lot of people saying online that they have no clue what Zelda could do after what they've done in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I simply think that's insane, because there's so much more they can do with Zelda, Link, and the world of Hyrule once again. But today, I want to focus on the same world, and I know some people will find this to be pretty annoying, and some people will find this to be kind of interesting. It depends on how much you really enjoy Breath of the Wild's formula or not. But with that said, what if Nintendo went ahead and made a third game in this current series? We have Breath of the Wild, we have Tears of the Kingdom. What if there's one more before we move on to an entirely new Link, Zelda, and Hyrule? Before we get started and talk about this third mysterious game, make sure you leave a like and subscribe because we are very close to 250,000 subscribers. We are trying to reach the goal very soon, so stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel more than you think, but let's jump into the video. First, we have to start off with what warrants another sequel to this series so far. Why would we get another Zelda game within the same world? Well, one, it sells like freaking hotcakes. Let's just be honest. Nintendo doesn't necessarily need story reasons to make another game in the same universe when they realize Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are selling like insane and have amazing reviews each. I mean, people are even saying Tears of the Kingdom is just as good, if not better, than the original Breath of the Wild. So why in the world would Nintendo want to walk away from the golden age that they have right now with Zelda? So yeah, you have to consider that. Nintendo sees that people love this world, they see that people love these characters, and they love this time period that Link and Zelda are in, and they probably want to keep within it as long as they can and continue to stretch it out. Look, they made a whole Hyrule Warriors game based off of this series, so they're going to keep stretching this out as far as they can. But why would they want a sequel? How could they actually explain this in terms of story? One thing I saw from reviewers and a lot of people that actually played the game was that they said they felt the ending actually felt like a conclusion, like there was going to be nothing left and this was it for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't get that vibe, and let me know if you agree with me as well, because it almost felt like they were gearing up for something else in the same series, because Zelda turns to the sages and to Purah and states that Rauru, Sonia, and Minoru were all trying to completely eradicate evil from the kingdom for good, meaning not only kill Ganondorf in that part of the timeline, but the entire timeline altogether, to have eternal peace. It's the first time we've ever really heard Zelda talk about eternal peace in the timeline, which means finally breaking that curse. And she talks about how she wants to pick up from there in order to take the mantle and make that a reality, how she wants to actually work for that eternal peace, and she needs the help of Link, Purah, and the sages in order to do so. And she tells them all that she wants them to stand by her during this time, as if she was gearing up for some type of plan to finally stop the evil forever. Now, we've seen Link fight evil entities back to back. We've seen Zelda 1 and 2, Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, Wind Waker to Hourglass, so clearly he's done this before, but they were never two Ganons, you know, a Ganon and a Ganondorf back-to-back sequels, and Zelda has never had to put up with this in any game in the series. So this is a lot to take for both of them, considering the fact that they've been battling these creatures for ever, not to even mention the 100-year gap from Breath of the Wild. Yeah, there's been an ongoing battle, and it looks like Zelda's tired of it. Every single time things look good, she doesn't get the peace like every other Zelda does in her timeline. Normally, she defeats Ganon with the help of Link, and then their kingdom gets peace for a very long time until the next game in that series. But every single time they look like they're okay, Zelda runs into something new. You find some type of malice or gloom pouring out from underneath the castle, and there's always something leading to an ancient evil that she has to take down, and she's not content with winning against Ganon in Breath of the Wild, and she's surely not content with winning against Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom, and even going back in time to fight Ganondorf there as well. She is completely sick of it. So she's going to do whatever she can to make sure that there is no more evil to ever plague Hyrule again, And that could lead up to another game within this same series of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Well, what is this game exactly? Well, I've been thinking about this for a very long time actually, and I think I would love to see something along the lines of The Legend of Zelda: A Curse's End, something to represent the end of the current timeline. I've been hearing theories for a while of people coming up with some really cool ideas of how to end the current timeline. It's so convoluted and messy, why not start all over with a brand new fresh timeline? And I think that's a great idea, and this game could be the one to completely end it, which I would also love. Now, there would be no present threat, and something I like to compare time travel to is the way that the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame worked, where nothing was really a threat anymore. Thanos was done, he did what he did, but in Endgame they decided to go back in time in order to stop whatever he did completely and vanquish him forever from the timeline. And since they did that, they ran into past enemies and problems, even with past Thanos again. And I think this story could do something very similar, where they decide to go back in time using Zelda's brand new time powers, where she learns how to use them precisely and can control them very much like Sonya. But maybe there's some type of technological and Zelda combination where Robbie and Purah come up with some type of time travel device or machine, and it's used thanks to Zelda's brand new power to rewind time itself and actually put her back in time. So they come up with this time travel machine and find ways to go back in time in order to, I don't know, collect something or talk to people back in time or certain sages or something to come up with a plan in order to eradicate Ganondorf forever and Ganon forever. But when you mess with time, time will mess back. Can you imagine an army led by Demise full of different Ganons, Ganondorfs, and creatures that he used throughout the timeline? And now that she went back in time and changed the timeline, she has the chance to wipe out all Ganons from the timeline, but at the same time, Ganon has a chance to wipe out all Links and Zeldas and completely rule over Hyrule forever. What if something actually goes wrong with the time machine, where it actually explodes, opening up multiple different rifts throughout the Zelda timeline, allowing different locations to appear all the way through the series from the very beginning? It's now Link and Zelda's job to go through this new warped Hyrule of past locations in order to stop the Ganons from rising and find a way to seal them all, past, present, and future forever. Okay, so how will this game actually play? Well, of course, I think it's time that Link and Zelda work together in more of a traditional way, instead of Zelda just being sent off somewhere. Maybe there's individual missions where you have to play as Zelda to help her go throughout different locations in the past, and maybe re-collaborate with past Zeldas or something to find a certain plan, and it's her job to go find each past Zelda and talk to them and figure things out. And it's Link's job to complete the new dungeons all over the map in order to get different items in order to help him in his journey. He'll be getting items from various different Zelda games throughout the series, which would be the new mechanic this time around. It's not Breath of the Wild Sheikah Slate, it's not Tears of the Kingdom's building mechanic, but instead, in this game, you're using the traditional items from all the past Zelda games in new and fascinating ways within this world. The dungeons could be remixed versions of ones we've played and seen in the past. You can have fan favorites like Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time, Snowhead from Majora's Mask, or even Arbiter's Grounds from Twilight Princess. Like I said, these would be twisted versions of these dungeons, maybe remixes from multiple different dungeons tossed into one of these that have the same theme. For instance, for the Snowhead, it could be a mixture of different snow-themed dungeons throughout the series tossed into Snowhead, giving it a little bit of a twist that's not exactly the same way we remembered it. And the same thing for the dungeon bosses, a lot of them could return from the past games as well, maybe with a new twist, since we're also getting those past items in order to take them down with. Of course, maybe we'll have an occasional fight in the overworld with some of the past Ganons. They're obviously nowhere near as strong or as powerful as their past games because they're ripped maybe from earlier points before they got to max power, but we can have little individual fights with them as well, or maybe different characters that kind of rallied behind Ganon's power last time, like Vati or even Girahim that would travel across the world to mess with you during your journey. And then at the very end, it could be a final battle against Link versus Demise all over again, or maybe a little bit of a combination of all the Ganons and Ganondorfs, as he uses all the different timeline versions of them to have new powers and new attacks, and the same thing goes for Link. Link has the powers of all the past Links with their items and their abilities, and maybe he can even communicate with the past Links in order to help him each dungeon that he completes, which would be really cool. Even though Link never talks, I guess they would all just stare at each other. and just shake their head in agreement. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think this would be a really cool concept to have all the Links, all the Zeldas helping each other, and all the Ganons and Ganondorfs trying to fight for the history of Hyrule and win over the timeline and defeat the other completely from existence. That would be a big high-stakes battle, something that we have never quite seen from the Legend of Zelda series, something that massive where if they lose, they could lose everything. The Legend of Zelda series is no stranger when it comes to time travel, and we've seen it multiple times. We've seen it even in the spin-off games with Hyrule Warriors. We've seen it with Age of Calamity, where Terraco was able to control different types of time and, bring characters from the future and from the past together. And we've seen it in Ocarina of Time, allowing Link to age and see the world change around him. And even Tears of the Kingdom is really dealt around time travel. So what if Nintendo decided to use time travel, but more of an insane way, allowing us to see the past Link's, Zeldas, and Ganons and the past Hyrule locations, not only giving us an awesome map with past locations, we'll get past dungeons, past items, and just characters as well to see one last time before this inevitably ends the current Zelda timeline. It would be a great ending and farewell to all the past Zelda games and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in general. Now, there's a very good chance that we are completely done with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and that world as we know it, but it's hard to say where Nintendo could go. Nintendo might really love this world and its people and might want to continue the story for one final game to make it almost like a trilogy of games, since they've never really done that with Zelda before. So who knows, but definitely let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see. Do you think it's time for Zelda to move on to the next game, or would you like to see a game that is another sequel to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and that kind of ties the timeline to a close and finishes everything that we know before resetting with the next game? Let me know in the comments down below what you want to see more of, but leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Nintendo in general, and like always, I will see you on the next one. See ya, guys.